In today's tutorial, you will learn how to install the Webmin web-based server management system for Unix-based systems such as Linux Ubuntu. So for this demonstration, I'm actually going to be using the Amazon Web Services EC2 service. Now actually deploy a Linux Ubuntu 22.04 instance on there. So using any modern web browser, you can actually use the Webmin system to set up multiple user accounts, configure web servers such as Apache, configure network functionality such as DNS and file sharing, and so much more. Webmin basically removes the need to manually edit Unix configuration files, and it lets you manage a system from a console or remotely. It's basically the ideal server management system for a system administrator who actually works from home. So the first thing that I'm actually going to do is to show you how you can actually deploy Linux Ubuntu 22.04 in the cloud on the Amazon EC2 service. So I've already signed into my Amazon account, and then I'm just going to search for the EC2 service. So click on where it says EC2 on the returned search results, and then click on launch instance, and then choose launch instance. So this should then open up the new EC2 launch experience. So I'm going to set the name for the instance to Webmin server. And then if you scroll down a bit more, you then need to click on where it says browse more AMIs. Click on the AWS Marketplace AMIs tab. And then we're just going to run a search for Linux Ubuntu. So on the return search result, we're just going to have to search through and look for the Ubuntu 22.04 version of this operating system. So I'm just going to look through these search results. And if I looks like I can't find it actually, so let me just modify my search parameter or my search string actually, and I'm just going to change that to Ubuntu. So let me just scroll through to see if I can just find the 22.04 version of the operating system. So there you have it. So just click on the select button against the Ubuntu 22.04 LTS search result, and then click on continue. Okay, so just scroll down a bit more, and you now need to select your instance type. So just click on the drop down, and then I'm just going to use the t2.micro instance type that is actually marked as free tier eligible. And then next, I'm then going to create a key pair file that we'll use to connect to the instance via SSH. So set the name to Ubuntu key. And if you're going to be using a Windows-based system such as Party to Connect, then choose the .ppk option. But if you're using a Linux or macOS device, then choose the .pem option and then click on the Create Key Pair button. So you need to scroll down a bit more and then click on the Allow HTTPS traffic as well as the Allow HTTP traffic checkboxes. So I'm actually going to set the size of the virtual hard disk for this instance to 50 gigs. And then click on the launch instance button. So the launch process should not take more than 5 minutes. It just takes about a minute or so for it to actually deploy the Linux Ubuntu instance. So once your instance has been deployed, click on where it says view all instances, and then you now need to click on the instance ID. So when you click on the instance ID, copy the public IP address for the instance and then open up the root 53 service. So once you've opened the root 53 and then click on where it says hosted zones, and then click on any one hosted zone for your registered domain names. Click on where it says create record, and then we're actually going to set the record name to a Webmin server. And then on the value field, I'm actually just going to paste in the public IP address for the instance and then click on the create records button. So you can do the exact same thing for any other domain registrar for your domain. You just need to create an A record that points to the public IP for the Linux Ubuntu instance. So go back to the EC2 dashboard and then click on where it says connect. So I'm just going to click on where it says SSH client and then copy the connection URL that's been provided for you. So open up your terminal application and then I'm just going to run the command chmod 400 and then type in the file name for the key pair file. Then paste in that connection URL that you copied through from the EC2 dashboard to actually connect to the instance via SSH. So I've successfully connected to the Linux Ubuntu instance. And I think the first thing that I'm just going to do here is I'm just going to install some package updates. So just run the command apt update and that will then go through to then download some essential updates for the Ubuntu OS. Next, I'm going to set a custom host name. So run the command hostname ctl set hostname, and then I'm going to set it to Webmin server. So just type in Webmin server or any other hostname that you like and press enter. So next, I'm then going to edit the default host configuration file. So just type in nano etc hosts, and then in this file, I'm then going to type in 127.0.0.1, and then it's going to be webminserver.mydomainname.com, then webmin server at the end. Then you need to save those changes, and then I'm then going to make another change to a file that is in the etc cloud directory. So let me just check through this directory. So the file we're going to modify is the cloud.cfg configuration file. So in this file, you need to set the preserve hostname parameter to true. So this will then ensure that every time you reboot this instance, that the custom hostname that you've actually set will persist across reboots. So I'm just going to reboot this instance so that all of the changes we've made will actually take effect. So next, I'm actually going to reconnect to the instance, and then we're actually going to then install the Webmin system. So let me actually do so now. So I've reconnected to the instance via SSH, and then let me just clear my screen and change to the root user account. So just run the command sudo su. So once you run sudo su, you need to then edit the sources.list configuration file, and you need to add an entry for the Webmin download repository. So just save this file, and then you then need to add also a GPG key that will also allow us to download from this repository, and then just run the apt update command for all of these changes to also take effect. So just run the command apt install Webmin, and you should now see the download taking place. So it's a pretty simple and straightforward installation process, and I'll actually include a link in the video description of where you can actually also gain access to these commands. So you just need to check the status of the Webmin service, and as you can see, the service is actually running. So the next thing that I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make a change to the firewall configuration for the instance. So you just need to click on the security tab and then open up the security groups section. So we're going to edit the inbound rules. So just click on where it says edit inbound rules, and then we're going to create a new rule. So I'm just going to open up TCP port 10,000, and then you need to set that to listen on to accept any traffic, and then click on the save rules button. So we've opened up connectivity to the instance on port 10,000. So next, we're then going to gain access to the Webmin dashboard. So you just need to open up a new browser window, and you then need to type in the custom A record that you created earlier on. So I'm just going to proceed with the connection here, and then it should open up a page actually. So I'm just it's actually asking for a password, username and a password here. So I'm just going to use my root username, but I hadn't set a password for it actually. So just run the command passwd and then type in a custom password for your root user account, or any other user that is actually on your Ubuntu system. You can actually use that to log into the Webmin system. So let me just sign into the system now. And as you can see, I've successfully logged into the Webmin web-based dashboard. So from here, there's quite a lot that you can actually do, from managing your networking, your hardware, to actually managing the Ubuntu system itself. And on the dashboard, it gives you an overview of your server in terms of your CPU usage, your memory, as well as your disk usage. Those are some of the 3 most important parameters that you need to keep an eye on for your server. And then some of the things that you can actually do is you can edit the boot configuration for your system and a whole lot more. So that's been it, guys. I hope this tutorial has been informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.